Welcome into Bears Weekly, a Chicago Bears network production. Download the Chicago Bears official app, brought to you by Verizon, to follow the team on the go. Bears Weekly is brought to you by Advocate Healthcare, Athletico Physical Therapy, Bet Rivers, CDW, Connie's Pizza, IGS Energy, and Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Jeff Joniak, a.k.a. the Mayor of Bearsville, and his sidekick, Tom the Surfmaster Thayer.
Good to be with you once again. 5 weeks from tonight, the Bears are going to be on the clock. Number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Number 9 pick in the NFL draft. We discuss it all here on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 and the Bears Radio Network. My name is Jeff Joniak with Super Bowl winning Chicago Bears guard Tom Thayer. Coming up, Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio's Moving the Chains will join us. Special thanks to our producers Jordan Tredup and Dan Briley, and the ESPN 1000 studios, Charlie Bevins, the executive producer of the Bears Radio Network, Eric Ostrowski. Coming up tonight, our guest is going to be Chargers radio voice Matt Money Smith. He'll discuss with us the additions of Keenan Allen, Gerald Everett, and, of course, thoughts on Caleb Williams' workout on the campus of the University of Southern California yesterday, which, Tom, and good evening, Tom, everybody had eyes on, everybody reading about it, and it was it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time for Bears fans.
Yeah, you know, I watched the entrance of Caleb Williams walking out to the field, getting ready to put his talents on display. Comes walking out with the football super confidently, and I just kind of wonder what that is like. Is it like an actor that's going on to do his part of a movie as like an actor in a play, but this is more real life in sports? And so when you kind of understand what you've already lived through as an athlete, and you see a guy like this going out there on a pro day, which it's hard to really assess what that's all about. But, I mean, it's amazing nowadays, and it's covered all over the world, and you have a chance to go out there and watch not only Caleb Williams, but some of the other guys that are going to be draft eligible go out there and, you know, put their talents on display for all the talent evaluators of the NFL.
Right. What do you take out of those?
You know, I like to, excuse me, I like to look at his personality, his confidence, his mechanics, his foot foundation fundamentals, his accuracy, the display of arm strength in terms of difficult out patterns to long patterns downfield, and just kind of things that sometimes you can look at for the exact same thing every single rep, but then sometimes you look at different types of accomplishments according to the type of route they're running.
Right, and he kept it pretty straightforward, you know, what you would expect in the National Football League. Some checkdowns to the back, some work over the middle, some deep throws, ending it on a deep throw connection there. He had some of those guys that will be in the NFL draft, and Lloyd, the running back, and Rice, the wide receiver. Very, very impressive, but you notice it because the ball literally does jump off his hand. That ball just explodes.
Yeah, you know, it does. When you see those types of long passes, the difficult out patterns, the long patterns downfield, yeah, there's kind of a simplicity to the delivery. But you think through a quarterback's mind when they have to make that last-second decision of the check down to the running back, the third receiver. And sometimes that is the arm mechanics that you like to look at the most, because there is a change from snap to decision. And so I think that's as interesting as a throw as if he threw a 65-yard bomb that land perfectly into the striding wide receiver's hands.
These are routes on air, of course, no defenders in your face, but we saw it on tape, and he doesn't need to show that. His acrobatic Houdini-like moves that he gets out of trouble with his eyes downfield. And again, we'll talk more in depth about that, too, with Matt Money Smith later on in the program. But how about the other analysis here? And this is under the assumption, of course, that the Bears are going to use that number 1 pick on Caleb Williams. He's going to still have a visit here at Hallis Hall. They'll take his physical here. They'll get down into the nitty-gritty. But everything's been kind of set for his arrival here now. And I wanted to see the body type. I saw it a little bit in Indianapolis, walking with him as he walked from interview to interview. But he's a strong guy. He's got a thick lower half, and he's got a strong upper body. And the name that keeps popping in my head of a similar frame, I guess you would say, is Russell Wilson. And I think he's taller than Russell Wilson.
Yes.
Yeah, he's taller than Russell Wilson.
You know, there's a lot of
about 6'1", 5'11" for Russell, but he's got good strength there. You could see it in his body, and that's only going to get better as time goes on.
Well, I mean, he was 214 at the combine, and he weighed in 217 yesterday.
Yeah.
So you gain 3 pounds, and you have the ability to add a little bit of weight, which I'm sure adds muscle from the strength training that you're doing behind closed doors. But I see of a bigger. I look at Russell Wilson into a kind of a similar frame. When I look at Caleb Williams, I see a sturdy bottom half, a good foundation that you have, and that adds to a lot of the strengths of his throws. And so, 6'1", is that what we're going to call him?
Well, yeah, let's just call it 6'1".
Yeah.
I mean, because I never understand. I never understand. Like, I only go on combine numbers. So, I mean, that's because that is universal, right? You come through with 30, 40 years of combine numbers, and that's your height and weight, and it stays with you for the rest of your career. It's in the media guides.
Jeff?
Sometimes, wait, hang on a second. Sometimes they alter the weights, but you're the same size from the combine. But if you measure it at the Senior Bowl, it's different at the combine. Then you measure at your pro day. These guys are all coming in at different. Now, the weight will fluctuate because these guys got ready to run 40s at the combine. Not saying him, but they run 40s at the combine at a certain weight. Then at their pro day, they're a little thicker because they're not going to run the 40 again if they already had run it. So you're trying to, and hopefully that time period you've gained some muscle weight, which weighs more than fat. So, it's a lot to look at. I know you don't care about that at all, and you certainly don't want to hear about arm length or hand size or anything like that, do you? Because that'll just aggravate you to no end.
I'm just telling you, the height portion stays with you the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because the first time I went to the combine and they stuck that ruler on the top of my head and they said Thayer 6'3 3/4.
Right.
I go, no way. I'm taller than that, and I never was. You go back nowadays, and I remember because Doug Flutie and I used to locker next to each other when he was with the Bears. And I was kind of teasing him a little bit about, remember how they used to call, say something about his height, and then he would immediately go up by 3/4 of an inch or an inch. So it stays with you when you've always kind of felt that you are taller than what they do.
I mean, what were you in the Notre Dame media? No,
6'5".
6'5". You're not 6'5".
I know, but I didn't think I was 6'3 3/4. Even when I went to the Hula Bowl and I was there with a selection of high-profile first-rounders, and I think they measured me at 6'4". So I was happy there. But when I went to the combine, that 6'3 3/4 cost me money.
Well, and you had hair then too, so you lost a little bit on the lid.
They bring it right down to the scalp, and I was already developing a bad mullet at that point, so it was going straight to the skull.
Well, 5'7.5" on a good day for me, and that's about it. No, no movement any direction, but it's always interesting to discuss. That's for sure. All right, let's take our first break. When we come back, we'll take a look at what the Bears have brought in and look at the rest of the division as well, because that matters. And what about rookie quarterbacks? What are they embracing? What do they have to be wary of? As NFL history shows, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. That's Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak, and this is Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by IGS Energy. Jeff and Tom with you on another edition. After the USC Pro Day yesterday, Michigan tomorrow, and word is from Brad Biggs from Tribune that that's where the Bears brass, Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham, Matt Eberflus will be headed tomorrow. J.J. McCarthy, of course. I don't see J.J. McCarthy getting out of the top 5 of the draft after, listen, man, Minnesota and Denver. These are two teams that are going to, I think, make moves to get into the top 5. And I think quarterbacks are going to go in the top 4.
Well, what turned for him? Since the national championship game and pre-national championship game, there was rumors that he would go to high second round. all of a sudden you go to the combine and then you're going to have your pro day. Now there's teams making pre-draft trades to try to get up there to get you. I mean, did he all of a sudden grow a bunch, or did he? I'm not against JJ at all. I'm all for him, 100%. But I just don't know why. Because before we went to break, he talked about the rookie quarterbacks and what's expected of them. And all of a sudden, you do have the success. But again, I think a lot of JJ, what I would like about him most is playing for a head coach like Jim Harbaugh. Because you have that development, you have that toughness, you have that, a coach that's not easy on you. So that's what would endure me the most to J.J. McCarthy.
I think the biggest thing, just from just the average person, the average fan, or analyzing those things, I'm sure scouts were way ahead of it on all of it, but he was not asked to do a ton. They ran the football a lot. So in those moments when he did shine. So I like the player, and it'll be interesting to see how he ultimately shows people what he can do at the pro day, how his pro day might look a little different than Caleb Williams. Can he make all the throws? Can he hit every blade of grass? Can he make it horizontally and vertically across the field? I say yes, but we'll see. But in addition to that, again, we talk about this so much, so many quarterback moves here on this almost a quilt of quarterbacks moving around, and you're moving pieces around from the backups to the starters. And, a guy like Sean Payton in Denver, with all those years with Drew Brees, would love a quarterback that just finds completions like or a guy like Bo Nix. And then you think of what Minnesota's doing. What are they trying to do? They got the 2 first-rounders now. They have Sam Darnold, and we're talking about the division right here. But are they going to make a play and move even higher up and try and get Drake May out of the mix? Because his high school coach was Josh McCown, who's now the quarterback coach of the Vikings. So it's all these crazy things you can think of here, but I think there could be some movement.
I do too. And you know what? So J.J. McCarthy, do you know what he was measured at the combine? Because when I listen to some of the not criticisms of just some of the conversation about J.J., they talk about him. They always start the conversation. He doesn't have that rocket arm. But, he can still make the throws. To me, if I can have a quarterback that can intelligently throw the ball from behind the line of scrimmage to 15 yards downfield, and he does it at such an efficient rate, I'm fine with that. So I'm not looking for a guy that can throw it 85 yards, but he can't hit a target within a 10-yard range.
JJ at the combine, 6'2.5", 219. So that's what he was at.
A little taller than a Drew Brees type of guy, but Drew Brees also didn't have a rocket arm, but he was super efficient, intelligent, and ran systems as efficiently, and kind of was able to change some of the offense that he was using because he was so involved in the development of the weekly game plan.
I also I think of one thing. I think of toughness.
Yeah.
I think of toughness with this guy, and very efficient throwing the football in the pocket. So, yeah, again, the quarterbacks always move up a couple notches more than people anticipate on draft day, and that goes for the backups included. But right now, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. And in the division, what's going to happen as well. But I talk about rookie quarterbacks because we'll hear in our next segment from Matt Money Smith, but Tyrod Taylor, in his career, started over Josh Allen, started over Baker Mayfield, started over Justin Herbert when they were all rookies. Again, everybody does it differently, but it was that veteran just to try to get things going in the right direction, like Alex Smith did with Patrick Mahomes and others have done in the past. But that was always that whole discussion about, okay, Justin, and having a veteran here. And now it's Tyson Bagent for the time being, and we'll see what happens on draft day.
C.J. Stroud changed the bar of quarterback and what's expected out of rookie quarterbacks now. And you talk about a rookie quarterback that was the second pick in the draft, He was a little overlooked when they thought Bryce Young was going to be the go-to guy, and he put that performance on with a rookie defensive-minded head coach. So that means the offensive coordinator is in charge of the offense, but then he's also in charge in the development of C.J. Stroud. So now are the expectations of rookie quarterbacks now elevated to a C.J. Stroud, type of performance, or is it still, the Jordan Love template where you get drafted, you sit there for a little while, and then, you play somewhere down the road?
All right, we're going to take another break. That's Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. When we return, Matt Money Smith joins the program here on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or a virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. We're feeling better today as Tom and I get to sit and visit with the voice of the Los Angeles Chargers, the one and only Matt Money Smith. Matt, how you feeling? Because Tom wants to know, for some reason, he's not familiar with the money angle. So, I told him he missed the big math for guards in the NFL now because it's spiraled out of control because of the defensive tackles who have spiraled out of control. And Matt, poor Tom was just going to earn his salary working 9 years for the Bears at right guard, blocking for Walter Payton and the fellas.
Right? And now he's looking at that Robert Hunt contract going, you got to be kidding me. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Your lineman's going to get $100 million for 5 years
Tom,
playing average football?
In all seriousness, Tom, could you have imagined it mushrooming that big for the guard position? Interior lineman.
Listen, we sat in the locker room when we talked to the generation before us, and that's Gale Stairs and Dick Butkus and Ed O'Bradovich and those types of guys, and they talked about salary and getting a job during the week of the offseason so they could help support themselves. But I guess you're always in an envious position when you see what these guys are making. However, I look at the guys that have made a lot of money that have never had the opportunity to live the day of a Super Bowl, that live the 2 weeks of leading up to the Super Bowl after you win the NFC Championship game. And I think that's almost worth what the guys are making. Yeah, I would probably have more dogs with a fenced-in yard. But I've had experiences that some of the guys that are making this big money have not been able to have as of yet.
Yeah, well, and Matt, so why the nickname Money? Because Tom wants to know. So,
listen, I wish I had a good answer, Tom. I don't. And those are beautiful window casings. You had to make some good money in your day to have window casings like that, Tom. I wish I had a great story. I worked for a stupid morning show, Morning Zoo, Kevin and Bean on K-Rock, and everybody had to have a nickname that wasn't Kevin. Well, even Bean was Gene, and he had a nickname. But we all, so for whatever reason, I guess there's always alliteration involved. So Matt, Money, 2 M's. But, yeah, I just became Money the Sports Guy, and that's it. It's stupid. I wish I should make something up, but that's it. FM morning show. Got to have a nickname.
Remember the name Jack Snow, the former Notre Dame and L.A. Ram wide receiver, when he was the Rams color man. He every time we'd go to St. Louis to see, he'd call him 2-Ton Tommy. I don't know if Tommy liked it, but he was 2-Ton Tommy.
There it is.
When I met Jack Snow, I was playing at Notre Dame, and he used to come back for spring ball and spend the whole 3 weeks there during spring ball, and I got to become really good friends with him. And as I got in my senior and stuff year, we would just bum around a little bit, and I was 300 pounds at the time, so that's kind of where the nickname came about.
Yeah. That's what it's alliteration. It's
yes.
But see, yours fit. You were over 300 pounds. I was a freshman, sophomore in college. I was working 3 jobs. I was parking cars at the Chart House. I worked at admissions. I answered phones for the morning show. And just happened to support, and I just got lucky. I stepped in it. Jimmy Kimmel was their sports guy. Adam Carolla was their comedy writer.
Are you kidding me?
I am no, I'm dead serious. Yeah, it was Jimmy the sports guy, and he did
Oh,
sports
my
with Kevin
Lord.
and Bean. And Carolla had a couple characters, Mr. Burcham, and they do comedy bits, and I'd be able to sit in with them and learn and practice and figure out how to do this radio thing. And yeah, it was the best whatever with my Pepperdine degree. It was the best schooling I could have ever had, just sitting in that office for 5 hours every morning from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Oh, that is awesome. Pepperdine, Notre Dame, and little old Iowa State over here, hoping they pull the Cinderella sucker punch in the NCAA tournament. All right, well, we're here to talk some of those Chargers that have become Bears in this free agency and trade period, the business season, and Keenan Allen wearing number 13. Maybe, I don't know what he's going to wear here, but his whole college and professional life in the state of California, at Cal in the northern part, and then with the Chargers in San Diego and over to L.A. What are we getting here? I had a great interview with him last week. He seems very excited about this opportunity, even though he played his entire career with one team.
He's incredible. I mean, he is, you need a case. He's third down. It's third, and it doesn't matter. 3rd and 3, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 15. And Keenan's going to find the sticks, and Keenan's going to catch the ball. And everybody knows it's coming, and they can't do a darn thing to stop it. And it's the damnedest thing, I don't know what he would clock in at if he ran it, maybe 4.6, 5.40. But the thing that I came to learn and appreciate about Keenan, and talking to as many people as we have over the 8 years that we've done it, is he's one speed. You have he doesn't gather, he doesn't draw down, he doesn't speed. It's just all one speed, and corners cannot get a read on where he's going because he does it at that exact same pace. It really is something to watch, him break down defensive backs. And I know Justin's going to miss him. He counted on him repeatedly over and over again. He showed up big in big games. And one of the great stats, you get and I know you guys saw it because we played the Bears this year. So if you were going through the Chargers game notes, when you look at the superlatives and you see most games in NFL history with 16 catches, Keenan Allen. Most games with 15 catches, Keenan Allen. 14, 13, 12. It goes all the way down to 11. It's all Keenan. Like, he's got 15, 11 catch games, like 9, 12 catch games. He catches the ball. Throwing the ball, he's going to catch it. Now, his season long is typically somewhere in the 30s to 40s. He's not a breakaway speed guy, but you got that in DJ Moore. I mean, he's going to be such a great compliment to what you guys have. I'm excited to see what he does for you this upcoming year.
The thing about it, we're not talking about a 6'6" receiver. We're talking about a guy that he's got good size for a wide receiver, but we're not looking at him, as he's Harold Carmichael or something. So what's his biggest asset? Is it the fact that he's kind of a one-speed guy, or is it his ability through the routes to get into an open position, or does he just have such great hands that he's hard to not give him the opportunity?
I think it's Tom, mostly the first two. I think it's the way he runs his routes, the speed at which he runs his routes, the ability to find, and just the veteran savvy to know what's going on out there, to see it, to process it like that. And I think the fact that he was paired with such a quick processor and Herbert as well, that I think he adapted. Same thing with Phillip when it was Phillip Rivers here. Like, he's so good at adjusting to his quarterback and finding himself on the same page, and just kind of having that connection. I know what they like to do. I know where they want to go, and I know how to get to where they want me to be. And it was amazing how quickly he did that with Justin in his rookie season. And you could sort of see that gradual shift when Herbert first became the starter, unbeknownst to him, when the situation happened with Tyrod and the lung puncture in that game against the Chiefs, where he's spreading it all over the place. And it's Tyron Johnson here, and it's A.J. Guyton there, and it's Hunter Henry, and then all of a sudden toward the end of the year, it's like, oh yeah, there's Keenan's targets. They've now gone from 4 to 6 to 8. Now he's at 11 per game. And I think the rookie realized this is my bread and butter. This is my go-to guy.
Hey, Matt, speaking of rookies, I think out of anybody that I saw at Caleb Williams' pro day, and Ryan Poles, look, man, he's got the magic card. Matt Eberflus, obviously. Ian Cunningham, Ryan's assistant. I was so impressed with the fact that Keenan Allen was there, because I think that sends a lot of messages to a lot of these people that are on social media sending these criticisms of why he shouldn't go to the Bears and the decision that he should make. So in your mind, what was Keenan Allen representing at the pro day?
I think you hit it on the head. I think it's look, the people that are doing that, it's just stupid. You can't, it's just not, A, it's not the way it works. B, you don't want to start your career like that, especially when you have a team look, Caleb said he wants to be legendary, right? Well, you become the best quarterback since Sid Luckman in the city of Chicago, and you're going to be legendary in a hurry. And not to mention the team they put together. I mean, my gosh, why would he not want to come to a squad that's got those receivers now, those tight ends now? They've set it all up for him to succeed. So I think Keenan probably felt a little bit of that. Felt, hey, they're going to pay me $24 million and change, probably because it's part of the pitch. And I think he's smart enough. He's a good enough teammate, a good enough person to recognize, LA traffic be damned. I'm gonna sit on the 405 to the 110 and deal with it for, he lives deep OC. I'll deal with it for an hour to make sure Caleb knows I'm all in, man. It's not just about me getting my paycheck. I'm in. I think we can do. And I think, and I don't know exactly what he would have said to Caleb, but that would have been my message, right? Hey, I've done this. I've done it, man. I helped be part of, prior to what CJ Stroud did last year, the most incredible rookie season we'd seen from a quarterback in NFL history, and what Justin Herbert did his first year. So I know what it looks like. I want to be there for you. Let's go get it. And I think I think it's a big part of it, Tom, because of what the narrative kind of shifted to these last, 5-6 days.
We call that a veteran move. Veteran move right there, not just in a sports vernacular, but you make a wise decision. That's a veteran move. Here with Matt Money Smith, remaining moments, the LA Chargers radio announcer and a big name talk show host there in Southern California, though with Chicago ties growing up here. Matt, how much conversation throughout the year did you guys have, or last 2 years, about Caleb Williams and how he performed and where his arrow is at right now from your veteran eyes as a football guy and an NFL announcer as well?
Yeah, so my radio partner out here, is Petros Papadakis, and he was former captain of the USC football team. So we have a tie to Trojan football. His father, John, legendary linebacker for the Trojans all those years. So, we watch the team. We're invested in the team. And it's been interesting because, Lincoln Riley brought a style of offense and a style of play to USC that it certainly was needed. They needed to reinvigorate the program. It had fallen on tough times. Clay Helton was not the right guy, but it's a school that's built on the number 55 on defense and running backs. And so to spread it out and start slinging it around and have a defense that's given up 50 points a game, it's very hard to reconcile as a team. So I set that as the backdrop because they took a lot of incoming, but there was one thing that no one could dispute, and that is take advantage of this kid while he's here. Go to the Coliseum and watch him play because you are not going to see many like him. This sort of level of play at the college level doesn't often find itself, to your backyard. I called 2 USC football games. I do it for Compass Media Network on the radio, syndicated, and a lot of times on my off weeks, whatever game they have available, if there's a West Coast game, I'll do it. Happened to get both USC Utah games with Caleb, and it's stupid. It really is.
Well, some of those throws in that Utah game that I saw, they were stupid throws. Like how does that even happen?
Yeah, you're in a full sprint. Now, that's the difference. If you want to, when you talk about the running quarterbacks and the athleticism and the read, and you throw it downfield, or after your first read you take off and run. That is not Caleb, man. Caleb is scrambling to throw, and his eyes are up, and he is processing and going through his progressions like this the whole time. And he was just finding one open guy after another. It was really fun. That game, just to finish it up, it was a heavyweight fight. It really was between he and Cam Rising, and they were just throwing haymakers at one another, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And if that's the Caleb Williams you're getting, my goodness, Chicago has got to be darn excited.
Well, let's talk about the tight end we're getting, because you talk about the career of Antonio Gates. He should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
It's a shame he's not. But then when you look at Gerald Everett with the basketball background, is there any similarities, or is it something that you better be in your stance for another 8 or 9 years, Gerald Everett I'm talking, before you can even see if there's anything comparable?
Yeah, look, I'll say about Gerald is he's a competitor. You look at the Jacksonville game where they gave up the 27-0 lead, and there really was one guy you could point your finger at that was consistent and delivered that whole game, and it was Gerald Everett. He played his tail off and tried like heck to drag them over the finish line, even though it didn't happen. The second one is I go to the Raider game, when they're up, 45, 49, nothing. And there was one guy out there still competing. So I think you have that, and that helps the locker room. That helps the room. I think he and Kmet are going to be a great tandem. He's not so much a blocker. Like you mentioned, Antonio Gates, a little bit more of a pass catcher. You can line him up, out wide if you want. And one thing, Tom, too, about Gerald, first guy always misses. You're not bringing him down. That was one thing that was consistent with him. Wherever he caught the ball, first guy was not bringing him down. You better gang tackle him, and you better be ready to get some support because he's just got this. He's not the biggest guy. He's really not. I don't know if I think he's listed at 6'3", maybe.
I got him at 6'2"3/4.
There you go. Yeah. He's maybe 6'2"-ish, but he's tough to bring down, and he always makes the first guy miss. So I just think it's such a perfect fit with what Cole Kmet does and how he's a little bit more of your full service, not to mention all the athleticism. But I think Gerald's really gonna have a lot of fun out there.
All right, last one, and I hope I don't kill it, but Eamon Ogbongbemiga. Did I get it?
There you go. You got it. Eamon Ogbongbemiga. Everybody calls him Eamon.
Did I stick the landing?
You did. You stuck it.
Good special teams player. Sounds like a great kid, too.
Not good, a great special teams player. Like a great special teams player. And I think the only reason why you got him is because the Chargers still have Nick Niemann, and he's another great special teams player. So Eamon is what allowed the Chargers, even though they really didn't want to, let Derek Watt go, who was their best special teams player. And Eamon filled that void. And now that Nick Niemann has and Deion Henley as well, at the rookie last year, filled in, became kind of that special teams ace. So, yeah, look, it's what he is, and that's what he's going to be. He played some solid linebacker and spot duty, but I think you signed, your special teams ace, the guy that you're hoping is going to take Matthew Slater's spot on that all-pro team, moving forward.
Yeah, Matthew Slater, legend, leaving the game, and I hope one day to become a coach or an executive. That guy can bring a lot to the game. Hey, Tom's old teammate, Jim Harbaugh, do you need any help breaking in? I don't know. You guys can chat it up if you want.
Yes, the answer to that is yes, I do. I'm going to need all the help I can possibly get, Tom, please.
And you got Mark Trestman on that roster. You got, who else, Tommy? Shane Day. We know a lot of guys.
Yeah, Bischoff. Exactly.
Bischoff, yep.
Shane Day.
Have fun. Matt, we appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
You got it. Anytime. Love doing it, guys.
Bears Weekly returns after this break on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
Hey, want VIP access, including exclusive seating, sideline credentials, and more to every Bears home game next season? Well, join the wait list to get the ultimate VIP fan package in 2024, visiting ChicagoBearsVIP.com. Jeff Joniak, Tom Thayer, and from SiriusXM NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, Jim Miller, kind enough to join us. Big Jim, how you feeling? And what do you think? We touched on it early about the Caleb Williams Pro Day and the moves that are and have been made to set up whomever the Bears pick number one for an offense that has a bunch of weapons on it now and a defense that continues to build.
Yeah, love the addition of Keenan Allen. I mean, that guy is just absolutely fearless to go get the football, especially across the middle. I mean, that guy will give up his body. He'll take big hits, obviously extremely productive player. But, yeah, I think, just the excitement of this week. Bears sending a big contingent out there to watch the pro day of Caleb Williams, the 3-day, getting him on the chalkboard and all that stuff, or the whiteboard, I should say, getting to know his teammates that he played with, how they interact with him. Everything is scoutable. Just even how he interacts with his teammates, how they accept him and things like that out at USC. So I think it's a good initial visit, but there's obviously more homework to do. I still don't think the Bears have yet to get a physical, right? He probably won't get that till he comes to Chicago and has his official visit, so to speak, with the Bears. That is, people may think, that's just a formality that needs to be done, but it still needs to be done. But it sounds like everything went swimmingly. I think everybody expected him to throw well. There's no pass rush. We know he's got the physical skills and all that, but the evaluation process will continue. Everybody just seems to think it's a slam dunk, and maybe it is. maybe it is, but I still think there's a lot of work to do.
Hey, Big Jim, so you bring up Keenan Allen. You saw what you saw at the pro day for Caleb. Now, what does that change your thinking, or does it change your thought process for that number 9 pick?
Yeah, I think for the Bears, you'll have an opportunity to trade down, because I think everybody had projected, whether it's Neighbors from LSU, the wide receiver Odunze out there for Washington, most think Marvin Harrison Jr. would already be off the board. But now that you've got solidified a veteran receiver, and you've kind of insulated, because as it right now with what the Bears have the quarterback position and who's there with Brett Rippon and obviously Tyson Bagent, that's a very young group, and it looks like whoever is drafted will be the starter. And so you typically, if you've got a rookie quarterback, you want veteran receivers. Cole Kmet, veteran. Obviously, DeAndre Swift, veteran. Plus the other running backs are veterans, other than Roshan, who was drafted a season ago. DJ Moore, veteran. Keenan Allen, veteran. You've insulated a young quarterback with a really good group of vets who are around him, and I'd say the offensive line, too, as well. Obviously, Darnell Wright is no newbie anymore, as going into his second year as a tackle, whether the Bears address the left tackle spot, but they certainly have addressed the interior of their O-line. Maybe there'll be more work done there, but I like how they're insulating the young quarterback, and you got better on defense. I think we know that. Surround a young quarterback with a good team, and I think the Bears have done that. So, yeah, I would think now maybe receiver isn't so much a priority, where you could potentially trade down and acquire more picks with that number 9 spot.
Jim Miller, Jeff Joniak, Tom Thayer on Bears Weekly here on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network. Overall, the Bears did load up on backup offensive linemen as well to give the competition and the injury protection, or as Matt Eberflus likes to say, a pair and a spare, and they did that in the secondary as well. When they bring in Kevin Byard to replace Eddie Jackson, they've got a good thing going there. Are there things, if you're not going to be able with that 9, if whatever you do, Jim, if you trade down or you go with a receiver, an offensive lineman, edge, but if you don't get one of those, are there still some things in free agency towards the summer that you could dip into if you really take a long, hard look after OTAs and see where your team is at in terms, especially, I would say, that edge rush?
Yeah, there's still guys out there. You've got guys like Emmanuel Ogbah. He's right at kind of the threshold of a 30-year-old guy, and there's still other corners that are out there. I mean, Tre'Davious White still hasn't signed with anybody. I mean, so there's corners, but I think we know those are all going to be one-year guys. They're just one-year rentals. Say the Bears did want to add a receiver, elected not to draft a receiver. I mean, look at the guys that are out there. Odell Beckham Jr. still out there. Michael Gallup just got released by the Dallas Cowboys. So you've got quality guys that have played and logged a lot of snaps that have years of experience in the NFL that you can always add. The safety position is still pretty deep out there right now. And so, say, if you had an injury through OTAs, I mean, the safety population from guys like Quandre Diggs or Jamal Adams, and you'd have to check out the medical on him. But to say Justin Simmons is still out there, for God's sakes. I mean, this guy's had 30 interceptions the past 6 years at the safety position. So, yeah, I do think, you've got guys that'll be there. Money's going to be a part of it. There's some guys that are injured, healing up from injuries, say at the center spot. Connor Williams down there for the Miami Dolphins played there last year. He's a free agent right now. DJ Humphries, who was a starting tackle for Arizona, he's still out there right now. He tore his ACL and is trying to come back from injury. So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of situations where guys, and there's a pool of players that you'll submit at every position, other than probably quarterback. Maybe Ryan Tannehill's probably the only guy that's out there that really this musical chairs of quarterback that has been pretty crazy when you think about it here this offseason, that a guy you've had that has logged a lot of experience and starters experience that is out there that you could tap into.
Well, let me give you guys something to think about during the commercial. You got a $13 injured Chase Young. So does it make it untouchable to even think about a Jadeveon Clowney when you think about who is on the opposite side of the defensive line from him and how much tension Montez Sweat is going to get? Or do you still keep a guy like that into your sights?
Yeah, well, I think Clowney, is hit or miss. He played really well last year
right.
For the Baltimore Ravens. And the reason why they felt comfortable bringing him in, for at least this was what I was told, Anthony Weaver was their defensive line coach. Anthony Weaver is now the defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins, and he had a level of comfortability with Clowney and said, hey, bring this guy in here. Feel comfortable working with him, and he had a really good year. But I think we know Clowney, and I think, unfortunately, this is where Chase Young, who New Orleans Saints just signed on that one-year deal, and he's dealing with a medical with a neck. And so the numbers aren't what was suggested that he was going to get paid. But typically you'll take a shot with a guy like that. But typically they're going to be one-year deals moving forward. And that's why Clowney, after the Houston Texans experiment, has never landed a long-term deal again, unfortunately. And, a lot of it is just due to, his history. And I think Chase Young is kind of on that path now, and why he just signed a one-year deal with New Orleans when you would have thought San Francisco would have signed him to a long-term deal. They just traded a third-round pick for him. Instead, they signed, Bears fans know him, Leonard Floyd to a long-term deal, or a 2-year, $20 million deal. And they chose Leonard Floyd over Chase Young.
Right, and he's been consistent, though. He's stayed healthy, and he's been sacking the quarterback wherever he goes. All right, we're going to take a break. Final segment coming up. We'll talk about what's headed next week at the owners' meeting, some rules that need tweaking. We'll discuss, and I know we'll get some good reaction here from Tom and Jim. I'm Jeff Joniak on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
This segment of Bears Weekly brought to you by CDW. People to get it and get the ultimate VIP fan package this season by visiting ChicagoBearsVIP.com. All right, save the best for last maybe. I don't know. Competition committee getting ready to discuss some things at the owners' meeting next week. Headed out there on Sunday. Jim, I don't know when you're going, but Monday we'll break it down. We got Bears Etc. on Monday as well. Bears Weekly as well on Monday. But let's discuss a couple things. One is the kickoff, and that's got to change. So interesting, and I don't know if we have enough time to break it down, Jim, but the bottom line is it's going to try to resemble a typical scrimmage play with the kicking team lining up at the 40-yard line of the return unit, which will be at their own 30. So there's a 35, rather. So there's a 5-yard window there with two returners potentially. They can move around, and nobody moves until the ball hits the ground. So you got to kick it off into an area from the goal line to the 20. That's the target zone. If it goes into the end zone on a fly, you get it at the 35-yard line. So is this going to be something that everybody can rally around?
Yeah, obviously the coaches will have to practice. It'll add more, especially. But the bottom line is kickoff right now is inconsequential. Only 22% of the kickoff returns. Look at the Super Bowls, absolute bore fest. All kickoffs weren't even returned. It's the most exciting play in football. It's what motivated the voters to vote Devin Hester in because it was no longer a play anymore. And I think it'll be exciting. If you've got two returners, you can have reverses, throwback passes, all kinds of things. What you're basically eliminating is the 40-yard dash where you're getting the collisions. All right, so these special teams coaches, it's going to be more hand-to-hand combat. Tom can talk about that because you've eliminated the 40-yard sprint down the field. Now it'll be about the hand-to-hand combat and how you can, get the coverage units to get in there. I think there'll be bigger guys on the kickoff coverage team because you've eliminated it, and it'll be more like a line of scrimmage play. So I'd like to hear, Tom, your thoughts. I hope it gets passed because it is the most exciting play. Right now, players are being eliminated like the Matthew Slaters that are drafted for their special teams or kick returners like Devin Hester that aren't even, it's not even the thought to draft those players anymore. Now it will be if this is passed.
I'm 100% for it. This isn't just a guessing game. We've seen an example of this in the other league. So I'm 100% behind this. When you look at a specialty of a design kickoff return, I think it's going to add a lot more fun to that return game.
All right, hip drop tackle. NFL Competition Committee, a new rule would penalize a player 15 yards and an automatic first down if the hip drop tackle brings a runner to the ground. Richard Sherman, I just wish they forced the entire competition committee to create examples of how they expect a defender to tackle the ball carrier. I want them to act it out at full speed and create a video for the players. At some point during the creation of that video, they will realize how insane this is. Tom, you have the floor.
Garbage. Absolute 100% garbage. You're going to put more on the plate of the officials that they have too much on their plate already. I think it's an absolute garbage reaction that it's a bad decision to even sit there and debate.
Jim, we only have 10 seconds. Let her rip.
Is probably going to get passed, and so is the kickoff return rule. I think both are getting passed. Talk to Stephen Jones. These both have a high probability of both passing.
It's going to be. Can they make it reviewable? That's the question. That is the question. All right, for Tom Thayer, Jim Miller, thanks to Charlie Bevins. We've enjoyed Bears Weekly. Thanks to our special guest, Matt Money Smith, the voice of the L.A. Chargers. Thanks to our producers as well, Dan Barilli and Jordan Tredup. And thanks, most of all, to you for listening. Bleck and Abdallah are next on ESPN 1000 and the Bears Radio Network. Good night.
Thank you for listening to the Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears Weekly, hosted by the mayor of Bearsville, Jeff Joniak, and Surfmaster Tom Thayer. Podcasts are available on the Chicago Bears official app. Bears Weekly has been brought to you by Apple Podcasts, Bet Rivers, IGS Energy, and Miller Lite.